This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A warm welcome to all our viewers that are tuning into this virtual safari. And currently we're watching a whole herd of elephants here at andBeyond in Ngala. Now, it's so beautiful. There's quite a few of them at the moment. So I've counted at least 30 elephants that have been moving through. But you can see there's one scratching itself. And of course, a couple of babies also moving with the rest of the herd. It's moving under that shade. It's basically just rubbing up against that tree. So you can imagine, like, with it being quite a nice warm day, so this elephant probably took a bit of mud, flicked it onto its back. And as soon as it starts drying, they'll always go and rub up against the tree just to get rid of some of the external parasites. So just want to say welcome. I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala. I'm going to be your ranger for today. And with me on the camera is Owen. Now, just on this note, have a look at this elephant just off to the left here. You'll notice it looks like quite a big female with the one tusk, especially the right tusk is a little bit skew there. But you'll see how she's just taking a bit of dust and like flicking it onto herself. You can also see with her body, it does look like there's little patches of dark on it. So it's most likely that somewhere along the line, she probably went past the water, maybe had a good drink and then flicked. Oh, look at the little baby under her belly. You might notice there's a very small baby just underneath her. So let's spend some time here and see if we can see that baby coming out. I think she's going to move right in front of us. I'm just going to lean out of the way, so I'm not in the way, but you might just see the little legs moving in between Mom's legs. And also, if you look at the mum, do you notice like all the different, it almost looks like bits and pieces of some material on her back. So that's probably as she was flicking dust onto her back. There's a bit of leaves on there. And even look at the baby, how wet the baby is. And I don't know even if it was him or maybe as he was trying to drink with Mom and she was blowing water onto herself, she basically just covered him with water. It's just such a special scene. So I'm just going to lean my head out of the way again. There's just so many elephants. There's actually more coming off from the left. I can count at least another 10 elephants. I think what we might end up doing here, so I'm just going to slide up a little bit. So it looks to me that the whole herd is moving off from the left to the right. So I just want to make sure that they don't surround us. But if they stay where they are now, we might just have this beautiful view of all of these elephants moving in the sun in front of us. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, it does look like they have changed direction, so we're perfectly safe where we are now. But if we do need to move to get out of the way, we can definitely do that. I'm going to try and be quiet, but what I want you to try and listen out for is as these elephants are moving, you might just hear their feet dragging through the grass. You might hear as they scrape the soil with their feet and like fling the sand onto their backs and flap their ears. You might hear all those little noises. So let's just listen. See, there's just a little one that's come a bit closer. So what we're going to do now, so what he's trying to do is just show a bit of dominance, but we're going to respect that. And we're going to slowly just move back because we do want to keep a bit of distance between us and them. So just bear with me as I slowly move back. So I think while we're going to try and reposition and get another view of these elephants, let's send you across to Laura Djuma for her introduction and hello.
Good afternoon and welcome to Djuma Game Reserve on this very, very hot afternoon. The sun is shining and my name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera and we're actually on our way to see a pride of lions known as the Nkuhumas, our main lion pride in this area. They were here this morning, so we're hopefully going to check that they're still there. Now, I can see something moving over there. It's very, very hot. So I imagine if I was a lion, I would be flat. I would be in an area just like this. This is a dry riverbed known as the Mulwati, and it's slightly cooler down here, and there's lots of opportunities to find some shade. Water, not so close by, but I think this is a perfect spot for them to rest. So unless they suddenly decided to change direction and move, I'm hoping that they're still in the same place. It was a very exciting morning this morning, so I'm hoping that it's an equally exciting afternoon. All the lionesses were accounted for and all the cubs. So hopefully they'll be sleeping, and then eventually I think they'll get thirsty and they'll head to a water point. Although it's winter here in South Africa, it's very, very hot today. Hotter than it has been in quite some time. So that's exactly what I'm doing, looking to try and find these lions. You'd be surprised at how difficult it can be to find lions when they're lying completely flat. They're camouflage. Mindy, yes, it is insane, a hot winter. I am not familiar with that either. Until I came to South Africa, it's very, very chilly in the morning and very chilly in the evening. But during the day, it can get quite hot. Not always, but definitely on a day like today. So they were here somewhere, so it's just a case of scratching around a little bit and looking for our tawny camouflage cats. The Mulwati River is one of my favourite places to come anyway. You can see lots of incredible birds and beautiful vegetation here. So it's a good place to start. But we just need to find areas that are possibly tucked away in the shade, and that's exactly where our lion pride will be. Or should be, should I say. Otherwise, our other plan for today is to head to the hyena den. It's very, very exciting in the world of hyenas here at Djuma. So that's exactly where I'll head after this. I can even feel it's a little bit cooler down here. If I was a lion, I would definitely come here, but I'm not. So I do have to look for them. Now, we may need to turn and scratch around for just a little bit, but I'm sure at some point we will get lucky. Aussie lady, yes, I had a fantastic drive this morning. It's been one of my busiest drives in quite some time. From seeing the old matriarch of the Djuma clan, the new matriarch of the Djuma clan, and then I bumped into the queen of all leopards, Miss Tandy. I'm sure this afternoon will be equally as exciting. Okay, I'm going to focus now on finding the Nkuhumas, and as I do that, we are going to send you all the way across to Taylor at Pridelands to say good afternoon.
Hello everybody, and, of course welcome to Pridelands. My name is Taylor McCurdy and on camera with me is Kat, and we've just been driving around this lovely road, and I noticed a tree that has been pushed over by the elephants, which is what we're looking for, and it caused a bit of havoc for us, and we had to cut it up and move it off of the road. You can see there, but even though it looks like this has been completely destroyed, well, I suppose it has, it's created a cool little bridge, and I'm sure you can see that. So if something like a squirrel or a monkey that typically live in trees, if they were trying to get from one tree to the other, perhaps a leopard would be chasing them or something dramatic like that, it could now hop from that tippy top of the branch and onto the next tree, and it'll be safe. That's quite cool. But this is what we're actually looking for, is the elephants, and I'm hoping that we're going to bump into them sooner rather than later. It's been very, very hot here, so I'm hoping that if we just check along this drainage system, sort of depression to our right, that we'll start to see some of the tops of the trees moving around a little bit, and then of course see some more elephants. But if I don't do that, if you don't see that, I'll look for footprints on the ground, which I cannot see any of. So now I'm in two minds. Do I go that way, there's water there, or there's water behind us? And we have just checked a watering hole a little bit further back, and we sat there for a bit, but there was absolutely nothing happening, not even a bird coming down to drink. So this might mean that they are going to a different water hole. We shall see. Nice sandy road. I can't see any footprints other than Impala tracks. There's only Impala tracks. Alright, so we're going to keep making our way down towards the next watering hole, where hopefully there'll be a herd of elephants waiting for us.
So have a look at how this elephant is. She basically took this small tree, wrapped the trunk around and broke it off, and now you can see the way she's maneuvering it in her mouth, probably trying to get all the little branches, maybe some of the leaves, or even that very fleshy nutrient-filled bark. And it's very interesting to see how she strips it. I think she might be stepping on it now. The grass is quite tall, you can't really see. But see how she's already, the one side, she's already chewed quite a bit. So often what they'll do is they'll chew and then use that trunk and strip the bark off and then put that into their mouth. But imagine how hard an elephant's tongue must be, or even the skin, because look at that tree already, the big thorns that are on it, and how she carefully maneuvers that in her mouth not to get pricked. Even look at the trunk, very delicately, almost like you would use a hand in order to maneuver something sharp, and she'll maneuver that around her mouth. You can just see those tusks are really dirty. So earlier on, she probably had quite a good time near the water, maybe splashed a bit of water onto her back, maybe had a good drink. She could have even used the tusk to dig a little bit in the sand, but most likely just the trunk. So I think that's just probably from the water or the mud as she was spraying water onto herself. Gina, she does look a little bit sleepy. I think it's just that early Sunday afternoon feel. I mean, even for us on the drive, it's just such a calm, relaxing afternoon. And I think the elephants, we feel exactly like this elephant, or we look exactly like this. They're very peaceful. Might later on tuck into a little snack, just like a carefully maneuvering it around. Make sure that doesn't have all those thorns on it. But otherwise, very relaxed. Even if you look at her tail, it's hard to see. I mean, the way she's standing now, you can't really see her tail, but her tail is wagging, so it's also a good sign that she's very relaxed. Ears are flapping, head is down, so very, very relaxed. Just look at that tail, just flicking some of the flies. You can actually notice, if you look carefully, see the branch on the side there, like when we zoomed in a bit earlier and zoomed out, you could actually see the flies around. So often with elephants, especially if they had a good drink and also they've been eating for quite a while, you might find that they could stand up like that and sleep for a little bit of time. There's actually another elephant that is moving here. I just want to see if it... I think we might get a little glimpse. I'm going to ask Owen if we can move off to the left here from where this one is. I mean, it might be an opportunity, but it could also be that we won't get a very good glimpse of her. But she's moving there, and just behind her is a little baby that's following. And this is quite a big herd. I think it would be safe to say there's close to probably 80 or more elephants just in this little area that we are now. And what I'm hoping for is, so the river, that big Timbavati river that we often refer to, if they carry on the way they do now, they might eventually start heading into the river. And imagine just getting a video of all these elephants down in the river with the beautiful lights on them. I think that will just make my Sunday afternoon. Dove, it all depends. Like elephants can weigh, I mean, from a baby born can weigh anywhere from 80 to 150 kilograms. But a big elephant like this, if I look at this cow, she'll probably weigh close to, I think it would be safe to say, anywhere from 4.5 tons to 5 tons. That's pretty heavy. Some of the bigger bulls, I know there's some bulls that have been recorded close to 12 tons before. So, I mean, it's a variety, or there's quite a big gap, but it could be anywhere probably from, if you look at a mature female like this, it could be anywhere from maybe 2.5 tons all the way up to 5.5, maybe even more. I'm sure it all depends on her age, and as well as the environment that they are in, if the food is abundant, if they're able to eat quite a bit, and they don't necessarily have to go vast distances in order to get food or water. I'm sure they'll be a lot bigger. So let's hopefully watch what she will do, because she's basically at the very trail end of the herd. So when I say that, it means the rest of the herd's probably in front of her, and she's just trailing here at the back. And I think she's probably realized that spot where she's now, there's quite a few delicious treats for her. So now she's just enjoying that before she eventually carries on and joins up with the rest of the herd. You can even see there's a bit of shade. It's on the bank of the river, so maybe even the grass there could be a little bit sweeter. So we might find that she'll eat a bit of the vegetation around, but then immediately from there go and grab the grass. So see like what she's doing now. And she's quite smart. I mean, by taking the grass, breaking it out and flicking it against herself, she's dislodging all the sand. And because of that, like, it helps to prevent her teeth from wearing down quickly. Because imagine with elephants, eventually, the way, unfortunately, how they die is because of starvation, because their teeth get worn out to such an extent that they can't properly chew and digest their food, and eventually pass away from that. So for her, by doing that, we'll make sure that she lives a long, healthy life. And I can just imagine for her now, there's actually another elephant that's moved in. So it looks like a young bull. So I'm going to ask if we can pan off to the left again from where we are. So I'm going to lower my head. And so just off to the left of us, there's another elephant that's moving on the scene. Now, based on his, like if you look at the rounded forehead, also his size, and of course, I had to look between the legs. But so this is a young bull, and what he's probably doing is training the rest of the herd. Now, it might be that he's just doing it because the herd might lead him to water. It could be, you see how he's lifting his trunk, so he's definitely smelling the herd. It could be an elephant bull that was recently pushed out of the herd, and because every time he gets too close, he might be chased out by the matriarch. So he's just keeping a distance, but following the rest of the herd. And if you look at some of the big trees, there's some leadwoods in the back, and I mean, this is a big elephant, and it almost makes him look so small in comparison to most of the trees around us. It's amazing how quickly an elephant can disappear in the bush like that. And so often, if you are looking out for elephants, of course, you do try and spot that big grey body, maybe those shiny white tusks as it's moving through the bush. But another way to do it is, of course, listening out. So if you can hear branches breaking, maybe those footsteps as they drag through the tall grass, maybe as they push over a tree to get to the top leaves, or maybe to get to the nutrient-filled roots, that's what they could possibly do. And that's how you can possibly hear them. And it's amazing to see. I mean, like, we've just, from the little bit that we've watched these elephants now, there's a lot of research that's always been in progress, especially in regards to elephants. And one of the best titles that I've ever heard, they would refer to elephants. They talk about elephants as ecological engineers, because basically they would convert an ecosystem. They would change it up. They would open up pathways. They would push over trees, so that other animals could possibly get to the leaves. They can expose the roots. So I think there's so many different things about it, and I would always encourage people to go and read up a little bit more about it and like get some input. I would love to hear some stories, and please send those questions through, and some of the stories I would love to hear. But I think while we are going to try and see if we can get the rest of the herd, maybe see if we can loop around and get another view, we're going to send you to Damon at andBeyond Phinda, who hasn't said hello yet.
Hello and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera we've got Marcel, and we've come out this afternoon into an area very close to where we saw those 2 lionesses with their 5 cubs this morning. But instead of lionesses with cubs, we found that mother cheetah and her 2 youngsters from yesterday afternoon, and they're still looking pretty skinny, pretty hungry. Mom is busy hunting through the bushes behind me. Now it's very thick in there, so unfortunately, even with these vehicles, so we're just watching very patiently, listening very carefully, and we're hoping that she's going to come out the other side. We still, every now and then, get a glimpse of her 2 youngsters, and I'm pretty sure that once we get our last little glimpse of them, once they move off, they will have gone through the thicket, and then we'll maybe loop around the other side. Now, while this is very exciting, it's also quite... Yep. Vicky is saying you love spots. Vicky, so do I. Always good to see, especially this mother and her 2 cubs after the fantastic sightings that we've had with them over the last week or so. But as I was saying, while it's very exciting that we've managed to find her, it's somewhat disconcerting the area where she is in. Like I said, this is very close to where those 2 lionesses were with their 5 cubs. And if those 2 lionesses are somewhere in that thicket and they do see that mother cheetah and she doesn't see them, there could be tragedy. So we're going to have to be very careful as we move around here. We don't obviously want to give either party an unfair advantage. Reggie is saying that cheetah are the best. They are absolutely special and just such beautiful creatures. And is that your favorite animal? I'd love to know. So what we've done is that we've got a tracking vehicle that's out helping us this afternoon, and we've asked them to go to the other side of this thicket of trees, and they're going to stand by there, and they're going to watch and wait and see if she comes out on that side. Of course, in those thickets there could be all different kinds of prey species, which is why she's gone in there.
They said they were, but I don't know. Are we live? Sorry, I don't know if we're live or not. Oh, hello everybody. Sorry about that. We have found some impala that seem to be very nervous. However, they're racing across, running, bounding across the road now. We did have some leopard tracks around here this morning. Look at them leaping. And I think that they might have just got a fright because half of the herd moved over very, very quickly. There's some more bounding about. You can see them all looking back at one another. I think they're just going to keep crossing the road, and there's a whole bunch of them that are jumping. You can see them all running in the distance. Here comes the last of the herd now. You can also hear some dwarf mongoose just in the grass. Oh, here comes the last impala ewe. There she goes. Patricia, impala can be quite funny, except I don't think that they intend to be funny on purpose. For them to run like that and bound about is a really good survival strategy. So that is how they would evade predators. They are really good runners, as you saw. I mean, they weren't running at top speed there. That was sort of a bit more than a jog for them. And when they are running at a full sprint, and they can leap lengths of about 10 meters, which is quite impressive. And if they can keep that up just enough for the predators to grow tired, then they can consider themselves safe. But They don't want to just run around like that and jump about all the time, because if you expend all your energy, you might not have enough fuel to keep you going when you really need it. So that's why you see animals just moving around quite slowly. Except the young animals. They, of course, want to play. So this is a really good area for leopard. And we know that there is a female leopard and a male leopard that move around. We had the big male's tracks come through here this morning, but they just crossed out of our traverse. But he could have come back during the day. I've been noticing a lot of activity in between game drives, and I did just see some tracks over our tracks. So I'm wondering who it could be. Lots of course, big marula trees and knob thorns, and also a big rocky ridge. So they could still be around you, which is maybe why the herd is a little bit on their toes. Yes, Tammy, I think any athlete wishes, maybe the long jumpers wish they could leap the lengths that Impala can. They are beautiful to look at. And, of course, watching them do their thing is very impressive. But now they've all started to put their heads down, so they seem to have relaxed a little bit. But we're going to keep just searching around here. I think I'll just check a couple of these rocky outcrops, as well as some beautiful big shaded marula trees. Off we go across to Nikki, and he has got the animal that we've been searching for.
So we just found, we drove up a little bit further from where we had that elephant a bit earlier, and then we joined up with almost another part of the herd. But you'll see this youngster here is like picking some grass and then flicking it, like the same we saw that female herd doing, like flicking against the chest or maybe against the bottom part of the chin, and then from there pushing it into the mouth. Now the tree that it's in, it's known as a magic guari tree. So that's the one that the other day, remember, we made a little toothbrush out of it. So that's the same tree. But you can see the elephant's almost like pushing itself to get into that tree to try and get to the grass. So I can just imagine with some of the wildebeest, maybe buffalo, even zebra, they can't get to that grass there because of all the branches in the way. But of course, being an elephant, they make a way. So he pushes it out of the way just to get to that lush grass. It also looks a little bit greener. I mean, you can see the way, or it's hard to see, I mean, because of the angle of the sun. However, like if I look very carefully with binoculars, I can actually see a little bit of green grass there. So I could just imagine that grass being a lot more sweet, or maybe has a bit more moisture in it in comparison to the grass around in this open area. And because of that, this is why this elephant is pushing into this tree. So I'm going to ask just for Owen just to pan out a little bit so you can see in comparison. I mean, look at the grass where this elephant is, but then compare it against this open area, which is just slightly off to the left. So now you can imagine for an elephant, like, I mean, the most ideal place here, of course, is going to be in that tree. It takes a little bit more effort, but the rewards are better. See how it's just maneuvering all the way into that guari bush in order to try and get to that grass. Now I think with the rest of the herd moving, it might only be a couple of seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, and then from there on, this elephant will probably like turn around and start following the rest of the herd. But I think for now, like he's just found out, I'm sure it must be a young male, just found this lovely patch of food, and now, of course, so occupied with it, he's not really watching to see where the rest of the herd is moving off to. But I'm sure with the strong sense, as soon as the herd moves, we'll probably just lift up that trunk and start following the rest. Maybe smell them from quite a while. Might even hear that low rumbling as the matriarch's calling everyone, telling them, listen, let's carry on. When we're as quiet as we are now, you can even now and then, after hearing this elephant hitting the grass against his chin, you might even hear the teeth grinding on top of one another as it's grinding away on this grass and breaking it down. Moonbeam Smith, that's a very good question. I'm not too sure. I think so, but I'd love to know a bit more about from our other viewers what they would say, but I'm sure they do. But I'm just not sure. I don't think I've ever read about it or even thought about it. So, but please, if any of our viewers know, please send in those questions. I also need to get back to Mitchell. Like the other day, I think it was yesterday morning, he had a very good question about are the meerkats and the mongooses related, or are the meerkats part of the mongoose family? And I said yes, but I wanted to go and read up a little bit more. So they are. They're not very closely related, but they are related in the fact that they fall within the same family called Herpicidae. But when you look at a meerkat's genus and species, so the genus and the species, genus would be like our surname. So let's say, for example, someone's surname is Miller. Then you have one surname, but quite a few individuals, and that is their species name. So you'll have Rob, Susan, and Nikki. So with the meerkat, the genus and the species name is very unique, and there's no other mongoose that falls within that. So it's a very unique branch that goes in that, but they are part of the mongoose family. Just have a look at how suddenly quiet this elephant is. Gotten often, I mean, if there's other bigger bulls in the area and they move past, or maybe if there's any other noise, you might find that these young elephants would just stop like this just to listen out. Remember we talked about the grumblings of the matriarch? Maybe this elephant even heard the other elephants moving. That's what's stopping to listen out. Let's have a look, because I'm thinking if it heard the other elephants, it might turn around and decide to carry on from here. Let's just watch them. So I think we're going to spend a bit more time with these elephants, maybe see if we can get the rest of the herd, and just appreciate them on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. But while we do that, let's send you across to Lauren with some sleepy cats.
Very sleepy cats. We have the Djuma Pride. Very good to see them, and I believe they're in the exact same place as this morning, which, well, is good news for me. It means that it wasn't that difficult. Now, this is the main pride that we have in our area, Djuma Game Reserve, and there's adults and cubs. But their territory is very far and very wide, so we don't always see them. They don't always come into this area. And sadly, some of the cubs are suffering quite heavily from mange. And I think they'll be okay. We had lots of rains this summer, very, very heavy rains, which is a good thing. So there's lots of water around, and the various prey of the lions, like buffalo, zebra and giraffe, they're all in very good condition, especially the buffalo. So that means that it's really, really good news for the lions, and very possibly they'll be able to flush out this mange and be right as rain soon again. But it's quite sad to see the little cubs like this. You can see they're scratching. It's not comfortable for them. Lions love a good scratch anyway, but mange can make it really, really uncomfortable. And mange, the proper name is Scarcoptic mange, and it's basically from an arachnid, and it's the exact same arachnid that gives humans scabies. It's a little mite, and it's parasitic. Goes into the skin, and it's highly contagious. So once one cub starts suffering from mange, what we find is they all start suffering from mange, because it spreads very, very quickly. So these little mites embed themselves in the follicles of the animal, and it causes them to scratch, and that's what that little cub was doing right there. Scratch, scratch, scratch. And the excessive scratching can actually cause them to lose hair. So when we look at all these cubs, we can see them with lots of patches of missing hair. Somebody's awake. So normally once one lioness starts to move, they all do. It's a very social, cohesive unit, and they copy one another. Lots of behaviors are contagious, including scratching, grooming, yawning, roly-polies. I haven't done a count yet, but I believe from this morning, everyone is accounted for in the Pride, which is great news. But at this very moment, all I can see is lots of sleepy, tawny bodies. Debbie, you're saying they look so much better. Yes, they do. They really do. Mange won't actually kill the lion, and it's not just lions that get mange. It can spread throughout the animal kingdom, but normally what happens is that because they scratch so much, they can end up producing lesions which can become infected, and the animal weakens over time. They lose hair, they can become really dehydrated, their immune system is compromised, and sometimes it can lead to starvation and death. So indirectly, it can kill the animal, but I think these cubs here are going to be absolutely fine. Debbie, you're right, they're already looking so much better. So I'm going to stay with my Inkohumas, and hopefully they'll get up soon and go for water, but you guys are going to go across to James to say good afternoon.
Hello everybody, welcome to a breeding herd of buffalo here, west or east of the Vuyatela Dam. My name is James Henry. BK is on camera. There we are. And we have this herd of buffalo in front of us. The reason we're at a sort of jaunty angle here is that we had as we were approaching the buffalo, they started to move away. Now, I'm hoping they've calmed down. And the most exciting thing about this is not, in fact, the buffalo, but the fact that I think I can hear a yellow-billed oxpecker. I'm going to go forward. Now, the yellow-billed oxpecker is one of two oxpecker species we get here. And I'm just going to move up through this little gap and hope they don't all take off at 100 miles an hour, because I think the yellow-billed oxpecker is on one of those ones there. Are you right there, BK? So let's just focus on those oxpeckers there, on that little group. Well, we've got 2 standard issue red bills, 3 standard issue red bills. No, there is a yellow billed. BK, the one on the shoulder there, now behind the head of the cow, has just got in the way. Get out of the way! There's definitely a yellow-billed oxpecker there. It's not nearly as exciting as it used to be, say, 5 or 6 years ago, when they were still very rare to see, but it's still very nice to see them. Oh, you are a deeply irritating buffalo. We had such a nice view. We were going to have such a nice view. See if I can spot another one. Hang on. Any of you feeling great sympathy for me? There, you see the one on the ground now, BK? It's got a yellow bill in its ear. The one on the ground. There. Now just turned its head. You got it? There, you can hear that call. It's very distinctive. It's more a sort of clicking than a buzzing. And although it is, there are 3 of them. They're now all on the buffalo line. There are 4 of them. And you can see both species there. The yellow-billed slightly bigger than the red-billed, and they've got yellow behind the reddish bit on the beak. So they've got both colours, the yellow-bills. Cool. Yeah, Maddie, there are these two different kinds of oxpeckers, and you know, the yellow-billed is, or was thought to have been going almost extinct. And for a long time, they were only found in the northern parts of the Kruger Park. And then they did a whole lot of reintroductions, apparently, and they really do seem to be coming back quite nicely. You won't find them normally on small animals. That said, as I like to recount, my first sighting was on a warthog. Righty, let's go up to Ngala, where Nikki is having an interesting baby elephant interaction, apparently.
So we're having this young baby elephant. You can see in the middle, I know with the sun, it's hard to see, but you'll see in the middle, there's a little baby, small trunk. See how it's just using its trunk to blow in the sun. But earlier on, see the way that's lying down? So earlier on, the adults actually stood over it. As it was lying down, there was a bit of shade over the baby. And they just gently move around this baby. But have a look at that. I mean, when we said there's going to be a special Sunday afternoon drive, it's just, I mean, when I look at a baby elephant, it just warms one's heart. Look at that. So he's just sniffing the air. And just imagine for him, earlier on, I can just imagine the mom must have started walking and following the herd, and eventually this little one started getting tired. So the mom stopped, just to give this little one a time to breathe. See how he's flicking out his ears? He's probably smelling us. You see, right next to this one, there's another female moving. So I'm just making sure that as soon as the youngster gets a bit closer, we'll move back. Because often at that age, they start chasing birds. They might chase some Impala because they know they have moms backing behind them. There's another big female that's moving just in front of where that baby is. You might just see the glimpse of the tail on the left there. But I want to see where the baby comes out. There we go. But how wonderful is this silhouette? You can only and also just compare it. I mean, from the elephants we saw earlier, if you look at this, the height of the tail above the ground, in comparison to this little elephant, it just shows you how small he is. He's basically the size of a big, fully grown warthog. That's how big this little one is. So it looks like they might be moving slowly up in that direction. You'll see some more elephants moving in from the right to the left. But it is a beautiful afternoon. I think what we might do from here is we'll just give it a couple more minutes. So basically where that youngster moved into or away from the tree, there's another elephant inside that tree. The only thing you can see is the trunk moving now and then. So I'm going to ask you, Angela, right there, that one right in the middle of the screen, if you move in there closer. And then a little bit right. You see that little open gap in front? So just off to the right. So I'd love to just make a little comment there, because I know a lot of the viewers are commenting on that little elephant, and I would definitely say that's probably one of the cutest little animals as well. And I fully agree with everyone. I think that there's very little that comes to a baby elephant. I mean, every single animal is unique and special in its own way. But I think for now let's just give it a bit more time, and then I'll try and see if I can maneuver around and get another glimpse of these elephants.
We are going to sit with our buffalo for another 3 or 4 minutes and then head off towards the east of the reserve, see if we can find some elephants or maybe If we're very lucky, a sight of Tundi, the leopardess, who has now been responsible for the destruction of 2 steering rods. One from Lauren this morning and one from me the other day. Must be Tundi because she's the common denominator, so it can't be Lauren or my fault. Those 2 buffalo are watching, I think, a vehicle walking across the waterhole wall. I'm sure they'll end up down there fairly soon. Red and yellow big-billed oxpeckers and all. Seem to be relatively relaxed now. Although they just never quite relax in this part of the world. And they are not too far from the Nkuhuma Pride. The Nkuhuma Pride is probably less than a kilometre from us, as the crow flies. I would not feel safe if I was in this herd, because I think it's quite likely that the buffalo will come, or that the lions will come hunting these buffalo at some stage. They're pretty full, the lions, but they're definitely not gorged. So, you know, they could definitely go hunting this afternoon or this evening. So if I was a member of this herd, I'd be trying to tell my mates to have a quick drink here now and start heading north as fast as possible. Let's do a little drive up into the middle, see if we can get them to stand still. Otherwise, we'll press on and see what else we can find. Well, there's a nice shot of an old buffalo bull. Yes, Vicky. Our response to you is much the same as it is to those who say when they see a lion cub they'd like to cuddle it. It would be the very last thing you ever hung your hat on if you managed to get close enough to a buffalo to hang your hat on its horns. As I say to those who wish to hug lion cub or say that lion cubs are so cuddly, I always say it'll be the last thing you cuddle. Just have a look at that one, BK, if you don't mind. He's sitting quite nicely for us. And he's got a whole lot of combretum or bushwillow bark on his horns where he's been scratching. Beautiful hairstyle. And some cud chewing. Not for him a Sunday lunch of roast chicken and apple crumble. No. He unfortunately is rehaving his breakfast. If you want to see how that effect is caused, because there's one there actually doing the scratching of the horns. To a certain extent. He's got an itchy back of the horns. I'm going to leave these chaps, head off to the east. You're going to go just a little bit further south to where the Nkuhuma Pride is sitting.
Oh, it's all scratch, scratch, scratch here. Itching those scratchies, scratching those itchies. They've all moved. They're grooming. I don't think any of them are fully snoozing, apart from one little cub that's in front of us. Oh, big yawn. Right past the car. Oh, now the cubby's awake, the last one to wake up. Once this little one moves, we'll be able to reposition the car and see the entire pride. Within a pride, no one really wants to be left behind, but I think these lions... Was that a yawn? I'm not sure that was a yawn. It was a half-hearted yawn. I think they can hear the buffalo. James is really not too far away. He mentioned that. And at one point, they all put their heads up. I think they know there's buffalo nearby. But they'll take their time. They'll wait until everyone's awake. Everyone's ready to go, i.e. they've groomed and scratched and yawned and defecated. And then it's time to all travel together to see the buffalo once it's a little bit cooler. Now there's different age groups of cubs, but from what I can see, the two older boys, they belong to a lioness called Ridge-Nose, and they were born in May 2019, which makes them a little over a year now. They seem to be the worst affected by mange, from what I can gather so far. There should be 9 cubs in total. Now we want to give you a better view of the lions, but we can't go forward because of this little sleepy head. So I think we might have to reverse. John, you're hoping for some inkuhuma. Yes, I am in a tree. This is how we parked. Isn't it wonderful? Yes, this should be entertaining. John, I think we might get some inkuhuma action as well. Buffalo's their favourite treat. And of course, it lasts them. It lasts lions a long time. The entire pride can feast on a buffalo for a really long time, and the buffaloes are in good condition. So they'll get lots of nutrients. They'll get all their sort of vitamins and minerals from the organs, and then they get all their proteins from the muscles. Yep. Okay, and I think this is just a little bit of a better position to start looking at the rest of the pride. So we're going to sit here, and hopefully our lions will get more awake soon.
Well, Lauren, we have the tasty snack you were talking about, but you have to be very brave as a lion to take on a beast like this boy that we have, though he's not alone. He's with a group of other buffalo that normally hang around in this area, but this is one of the biggest in the herd. He's really, really fat. Look at all that muscle as well. But they're in such good condition. It's really, really nice to see. I'm so surprised that they are looking so well. You can also hear the drilling sounds of the oxpeckers as they fly off. Definitely been having a wallow at some point. Not today, maybe yesterday or the day before. I can't believe that they haven't gone down towards Ndlovu Dam. We're not very far, but maybe they will make their way there, or maybe towards Leadwood Dam. It could go either way right now. I don't actually know what the temperature is. There's one right in front of us on the road. There we go. But you can see he's covered in mud. It's actually an exceptionally warm day, is it? So there's a buffalo that we sometimes see that has some kind of problem with its mouth because his tongue hangs out. Let me go forward. Let's have a look. Hopefully they'll be nice and relaxed with us. Normally buffalo are. Sometimes the bulls can be a little bit on the nervy side. No, come back. Just stop here. Now you'll see the real size of him if he kindly crosses the road. Look at how enormous he is. His belly is almost dragging on the ground. Not quite, but you get the gist of it. I mean, he weighs in excess of 800 kilograms. He's quite big. And there's a few bigger bulls. He's not the biggest one. But that's an impressive buffalo. And just stopping to turn back, making sure he keeps his eye on us. Buffalo don't like to trust anybody. So this is normally the stare that you get. Oh, here comes another big boy. They've just got so much muscle in their shoulders and their forequarters, which is really impressive. So if a lion were to come around, my goodness, it's really going to take a few of them to bring one of these buffalo down. Tom, yes, you're quite humorous, aren't you? Saying gives a new meaning to buff. And I say this as I flex my muscles. Hello. Ha. Very funny indeed. So I'm just going to sit like this because I want the other buffalo that's just behind this fella to pop out. Because I want to see if it is the one that we've been seeing. But we shall see. Oh, that's exciting this afternoon. All sorts of wonderful animals. But why don't you go take a look at the lovely cheetahs?
Well, welcome back everybody. We have had an absolute time trying to keep up with this mother and her two youngsters. They were moving through the most impenetrable thickets possible. We were having to loop around and then wait and then loop around again and then wait, and we thought that we'd lost her. And as we were making our way back to the road and coming down the mountain, we managed to spot her. She came out of the thickets. And look at this beautiful open area that she's now emerged into. So she and her youngsters just taking a time out for a second in the shade of this thicket of trees. Oh, look at that big yawn. Look how she's now grooming herself, just cleaning her paws after all of that, for lack of a better term, missioning through that thicket. And it did seem that a couple of times something caught her attention. May have been in those very dense thickets because Nyalas typically like to live in dense bush. We did see a couple of Nyalas while we were in there, and that may have been the thing, or those may have been the things that caught her attention. Now, just off to the right of where this female cheetah is, when we were coming through here earlier, we saw quite a big group of Impala, and I wonder if we're just not patient, because as the sun goes down, typically Impala, because Impala, like Cheetah, like to rest in open areas, they might come out of these thickets and into the middle of this clearing here. And then we might be in for round 2. Those of you that joined us yesterday afternoon, you may remember the fantastic scene that we witnessed as we watched this female cheetah try and catch an Impala. Wouldn't that be incredible if we could have a second take at that? And such a fantastic vantage point that she's got. Look at this. She's up on this hillside. Look at the view she's got. Donnie, you're asking a very interesting question. I'm very glad that you asked. You asked if a cheetah can catch prey without its tail. Now, to answer your question, Donnie, let's have a look at, I don't know if you've heard what cheetah use their tails for. So I'm sure you've heard about how fast they can run. And that tail is there to help them steer when they're running at high speeds. So for a cheetah to run at maximum speed and then to try and keep up with its prey as its prey kind of dodges and dives, they need that tail to help them balance and steer. Now, if it hasn't got a tail, it's not going to be able to do that as effectively. And so one could argue that, no, they wouldn't be as effective at catching prey. But there was actually a young male cheetah that used to live here at andBeyond Phinda. And when he was a cub, shame, he had an absolute nightmare of an upbringing. The poor little thing. When he was very young, both him and his siblings got mange. You saw now, Lauren was talking about mange with the Djuma Pride of lions over at Djuma. this little cub and his siblings contracted mange when they were very small. Luckily, they managed to recover from it. Unfortunately, though, he managed to recover. He lost his siblings to it, though. And it was just him left by himself. And while he was still recovering from the mange, he was attacked by a group of male cheetah. And they attacked him pretty badly, but he managed to escape. But in the process, he lost his tail. He had only about maybe 2 or 3 inches of his tail left. And so he looked, if you'll pardon the term, but he looked a bit like a German short-haired pointer or a Rottweiler with its tail docked. And we all thought, no, surely this little cub is not going to be able to survive. He's not going to be able to catch prey. But he proved us all wrong. And what he did, and what we noticed him doing, is that instead of hunting like a regular cheetah by using its speed, he would hunt more like a leopard would. He would tend to stick to denser areas when he was looking for food. And he would try to approach his prey as close as possible and then pounce on them, almost like a bobcat or a lynx would do. So apparently cheetah, even without their tails, in the right environment, they can survive. Of course, it's a matter of life and death, so if they can't overcome their disability, they will die. And we've still got a bit of daylight left, so I'm hopeful that this female cheetah may try to hunt again. Penelope, you're saying that, I suppose in reference to the story I've just told, that nature can be quite sad, or what plays out in nature, but you're saying amazing how resilient it can be, and I absolutely agree with you. I mean, like I said, these animals, they've got no choice. If they don't adapt to their circumstances, to their disability, they will die. So, yeah, there's no 2 ways about it. Oh, listen, there's an impala that's just snorted down in the valley below us. Again, that very loud and distinctive sound. But it was just one snort. And I very much doubt that impala has seen these cheetah based on how far away it is from us. May have just been a false alarm, or maybe a ram harassing some ewes. But we're going to stick here and take in this beautiful scene and hope that this female cheetah does try her luck again.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
So earlier on, we had a look at that beautiful herd of elephants, and then from there on, we decided to do a bit of a drive along the river. Like this morning, we tried for the leopard. Unfortunately, we didn't see any leopards. But if we do find some fresh tracks, we can always give it a go. But what we see here is like right in the sand, so it's hard to see from that angle, but I'm trying and point it out as much as I possibly can. Now, right over here, you'll notice it looks like there's 4 little toes and quite a big patch here at the back. So this is a track of a lion. Now, basically, so I'm going to use my hands as a comparison. So if I put my hands here, basically that track is my whole hand like that. So this is most likely from a male lion. And the direction of the track, so the pad, the one here at the back, it has 3 lobes. So 1, 2, 3, which is right over here. And then, of course, the 4 toes. And that's heading up in this direction right over here. And I think that's probably something that we could potentially follow. If not this, maybe even later on this evening, we can come down here with the vehicle, we'll switch it off, and we'll listen to hear if there's any sounds of these lions. Now, often with the male lions, if they are, because it's only, like, if I look around on this area around me, I can see quite a few other tracks. I mean, there's some giraffe tracks right over here. There's some, it looks like could be old buffalo tracks on this side, but it only seems like one set of lion tracks. And this might either be that young Birmingham male, or it could be one of the Ross males. And if lions, especially male lions, are all by themselves, there's a good chance that they might start calling to meet up with the rest of the pride. So this is good news, and maybe later on this afternoon we can come back here, but I think we'll carry on with our drive and see if there's any other signs of them. But it's really nice, interesting, so at least we can see some lion tracks. But I think for now, let's carry on. Laura, I would say, like, I'm still in the process of learning how to track. It's not as easy. I thought, like, growing up, like, it would be a lot easier, but I think there's so much skill involved in it. And I think for me, like, I can basically follow tracks if they're on a nice clear path, and if they move through the grass and I don't lose them, I might be able to do it. But sometimes with animals, the more you track, the more you have this interpretive feeling of where are the animals going to go. So I think for me, sometimes if I follow track and I start losing it, I start thinking, okay, where would this lion go to? Okay, so it's a male lion. He probably just came off a carcass. The only water around is nearby, or he might want to join up with the pride. So my next move is probably going to go to where he's most likely going to go. And then I'll go and drive that road, or maybe I'll go walk onto a game trail and see if I can see any other tracks of those signs, or that lion. If I don't, I know that he might be lying down somewhere. And it's just through a little process of elimination until you narrow it down to such a small area that you have to find that lion in there. But it doesn't always work like that. But that's just how it works. So it started from a very young age, growing up on the farm. I was exposed a bit to tracking, but of course, working out, especially with a very experienced tracker, really helped me a lot. And I mean, still, each and every day, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about nature, is you can never stop learning. And you never know, like, the more I learn about nature, the more I realize I don't know about nature. So I think while we're going to explore these beautiful big trees and see if we can find any other signs of these lions, let's send you across to Taylor. Apparently, she has some beautiful elephants there.
So just as I was talking about the elephants coming to visit all the watering holes, finally we have some down at Ndlovu Dam, which is right at the eco training camp. And there they are, just splashing about. And you can also see all the dust in the background, but hopefully we'll have a look at that in a little bit. Just all the boys that are in the water, as they normally are. Sort of doing a bit of rough and tumble. Feeling as light as a feather in comparison to how they, I suppose, normally feel when they're on land. Look at that. But this is honestly, like, magnificent. Look at that. When do you get so much dust? I mean, again, a photographer's dream. But look at all this. Oh, wow. Just as that elephant shook his head. That was quite special. And I'm sure the other bulls will also go in dust baths. So I think we're going to have a never-ending cycle of dust bathing and swimming. There's a young boy just covering himself quite a bit. I think the flies are a bit of a bother at the moment. You see he's focusing on putting all that dust on his face. Around his ears, around his eyes, underneath his belly. Oh, now he's even going down onto his knees. Goodness, this in slow motion would be unbelievable. Like, really, really special. I just wish he would stand the other way and throw all the dust over himself. But there's some bulls that are moving towards the edge of the water. I don't know if they're ready to come out just yet, though. It's been so warm, and I think after this cold spell that we had, all the animals are enjoying the heat. Oh, there we go. Now this should be spectacular. If all those elephants, firstly, if they can navigate over that fallen tree, that's always quite funny to watch. And then make it to where the dust bathing is happening. There we go. If you didn't think an elephant was flexible, now's your chance to be proven wrong. Up and over. That's the lower end, so that's where they normally cross. But sometimes when about 6 elephants try and cross at the same time, one poor soul has to cross at the high point. Here we go. So they're all wet, they've cooled themselves down, they've played a bit. So it's very important for them to have a bit of a dust bath now. I don't know where to look. And it's surprising to see how deep it still is, considering how Ndlovu Dam has shrunk even just over the past week. The water is receding very, very quickly. But I think we should make it through the dry season. I think we'll just make it. Oh, actually, no. You know what? If we have a late rain like we had last year, when we only got proper rain in December, we might be in a bit of trouble. Because October, November, December is incredibly hot. I'm talking about high 30 degrees Celsius, well into the 40s, sort of 41, 42 degrees Celsius. And all those animals are going to be parched. And utilizing this dam and leopard dam, and we don't pump water into this dam. This is just, it collects water naturally. So when it runs out, it runs out. Wow. I so badly want to move forward, but I think we might lose signal. So, yes, Lisa, essentially... Oh, my goodness, elephant, are you all right? No, your buddy's not helping you there. Shame. Little sort of got tripped on something there and fell right over. If that was an elephant, that would be me. So sorry, Lisa. Elephants, I mean, they don't bath to get clean in a sense. Obviously, elephants prefer to be dirty. But they do enjoy a good swim. The happiest elephants I've ever seen, I always say this, is the elephant in the water. No matter the age either, from a young elephant to even a bigger elephant. So they'll go in, cool themselves off, play around a little bit. They can't resist and swim and splash about, have a drink of water. And they'll do this on a daily basis. Like I said, in the summer months when it gets extremely hot, why would you not have a swim twice a day if you could? You know, if you're feeding around and you're in the area, why not? But if there is a lot of rain around, they might not necessarily be at the bigger dams. They could just, you know, top up on a little mud wallow along the way. But at least I would say once. I mean, we've pretty much been seeing the elephants swimming every single day and multiple different herds. I've already watched 2 breeding herds come down to the dam. I don't know if this was a breeding herd. These are obviously just the bulls that we're looking at, but the rest of them could have carried on by now. I didn't, like I said, leopard dam was surprisingly quiet. But in the summer when it's super hot, sure, I think they'll be here all the time. Hey, trying to have a piggyback. I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, mister. And those other 2 bulls chasing one another up the slope now. So lovely. I can't believe that it's that deep. And then it just gets so shallow so quickly. But obviously from them splashing around a fair amount, they've just been digging these huge wells. You can see there how it sort of just stood up and half a meter of its body emerged. And it's just going to get deeper and deeper. There we go. Not quite having a drink. Is that the equivalent though? Like, you know, as a kid, I don't know if you do it or if you have dogs that like to chase water. But I've definitely sprayed my brother's, or my younger brother, a few times in the face with a hose. I don't normally do it to myself. Accidentally, that happens occasionally. Amazing, just as quick as that, they're out of the water and carrying on. It looks like there's one elephant, you see the one on the right-hand side that's drinking now, that doesn't want to come in for a swim. I don't think it's at a swim. You can see it just standing on the right-hand side. It looks like it's quite dry. Oh no, there's some wet patches. Maybe it swam earlier or sprayed water on itself. Like I said, the elephants have just come and gone. There's a pity they weren't here at the beginning of the show. We did sit here for a little bit, but no luck. But I am hoping that we will see some more dust bathing from the trio that are here. But off we go to the cheetah, where they are fast asleep.
Our cheetah are still lying down, not quite snoozing. See how Mom's head is up and twitching and looking around. The youngsters, though, have a look at how their necks are also up, crooked at that horribly uncomfortable looking angle. But see how their eyes are closed. So they are taking advantage of Mom's vigilance and Mom's being here, catching up on a bit of sleep after all the walking they've been doing today. My goodness, when we did manage to find these cheetahs this morning, like I said, but unfortunately we just couldn't film them because of the poor signal. Oh, what has... I thought that she'd spotted something. Did you see how she just suddenly jumped up? There was a subtle increase in the speed of the wind blowing onto her, and I think that maybe just startled her. It may have carried the scent of something. See how she's wide awake now and looking around her. Just making sure that there's nothing dangerous creeping up on them, and also that she hasn't maybe missed some kind of prey walking along behind her. Like I said, where they're lying in the shade of this tree, it's absolutely superb cover. If they lie down and they stay still, it's unlikely that something will notice them if it walks past. But we can still, while we've been sitting here, we can hear impalas down and to the left of where this mother cheetah is, and also off to the right. But I think for now she seems content to rest for a bit. And I mean, we watched her try and hunt yesterday, so we know that she's been hungry since at least yesterday. Over the next few days she's going to get more and more hungry if she's not successful with a hunt soon. Sugar, you're asking if a cheetah would adapt its hunting strategy depending on its environment. So would it be different in open terrain compared to in thick bush? Sugar, you're absolutely correct. And that is something that we do see here on Phinda quite often because of how most of the reserve is pretty dense in terms of the vegetation. And so very often we do see cheetah hunting in vegetation that we're not accustomed to seeing on, most documentaries that we watch. It's always about a cheetah chasing something through the open grasslands of the Serengeti or of the Masai Mara. But very often here, because of the thickets, the cheetah here have had to adapt. We've spoken earlier about how cheetah will have to, or how animals in general have to adapt to their environment in order to survive. And so yes, the cheetah here do often hunt in thicker bush, and then yes, they'll try and stalk as close to their prey as possible, because in dense woodland it can be a bit harder to... I'm sorry, she's definitely seen something now. See how tense her body is? Look at how cautiously she's walking. I can't see what she's seen, everybody. So we're going to have to sit tight, and here again the suspense starts. Look at how tense her body is. And look at the cubs. The cubs have seen that she's looking tense. They're looking in the direction she's looking. And this for them is going to be a command. She has, without using any sound, she's told her cubs to sit still. I'm sorry, everybody, we can't move. I don't know what she's seen. But she's walking quite confidently, so whatever she's seen has maybe got its head down, busy grazing right now. Look at the cubs, they're getting up in anticipation. Oh my word. They know it's time to let mom go off to work. Oh, don't get up, little cubs, you might blow the hunt. Oh, the cubs are following. BG, you say supper is on its way. BG, for these cheetah, I certainly hope it is. Oh, look at that. Look, even the cubs now, they're imitating what mom was doing. They're also walking with their heads low to the ground. There's some impala, I can hear them. That must be what she's seen. There's some impala rams chasing each other around, but they're very far down the hill. There's a lot of ground she's got to cover. And now, for the second afternoon in a row, my heart is in my throat, courtesy of this female cheetah. Everybody's saying that this is so exciting. I think exciting is an understatement. My heart is it's doing backflips in my throat. I can still see the one youngster, or both youngsters. I don't know where Mom has gone though. Okay, I think while we try and figure out where she has gone, let's go and have a look and see what the lions are up to at Djuma with Lauren, and we'll call you straight back as soon as we are able to see her a bit better.
My big cats are still very much sleeping, looking more golden in the golden light. There's only this little cub here has its head up. Now, I got to see all the cubs the other night when they were on Djuma, and it's lovely to see them when they're standing, because you can actually start to gauge which cub group they belong to. Look at this one. I do now have Morgan on camera, everybody. So I just wanted to let you know that he's on board. So the oldest cubs are, of course, ridge-nosed boys that are not looking too great, but you can really see that. They're very tall and big. We also have Amber Eyes lot, Purple Eyes 2, and then we have Chella's, the youngest lioness. We also have her 1. This is a whole lot of cubs here. And I'm wondering if these adults are full. I wonder if that's why they're not showing much interest in the sounds of the buffalo. Are they just waiting till it gets cooler? Or are they just full? This particular individual that we're looking at looks very full. Fred, you're asking if a lion or a lioness is injured or ill, would they struggle? Yes, they would, especially a severe injury. But lions are very resilient. We've seen lions with very nasty wounds, deep cuts, limps, broken bones, still manage to keep up with the pride and still manage to do a little bit in the hunt. But the benefit of being a lioness and a lion is that you have your pride mates or your coalition mates. You're never alone. So unlike a leopard, you don't have to execute the hunt on your own. You're completely with the other members of your pride. You can cooperate, you can communicate, and together you can take down a much bigger item of prey. Lionesses will hunt solitary. They will take down things like warthogs and smaller antelopes on their own, but it's better to be with the pride. And then you can take down much bigger species such as buffalo, giraffe, zebra, species that take a lot more effort than would a warthog or a steenbok, for example. So yes, they would struggle, but luckily enough, lionesses have always got the backup of the other members of their pride. And that's the beauty of being part of a pride. They have each other. We actually watched the Nkuhumas take down an impala at Christmas, and it really did not last very long whatsoever. It was not a substantial meal for a pride this large. So, hopefully, since that sun is starting to go down, we will see signs of these sleepy Nkuhumas moving soon.
So we have managed to adjust our position ever so slightly. There is the mother cheetah there, and she's still looking very intently to the northwest. And if we just pan to the left, you'll be able to see what she is looking at. There's a small group of impala at the edge of that thicket. Remember earlier we said that with the coming of night, just like cheetah, because impala like to rest in open areas, they've been making their way out of the thickets to come and rest in the open grassland. That seems to be what has started to happen. Now those impala are looking... Well, there's a couple of them that are looking in our direction, not at the cheetah. So that's good for her. And there's also a couple that are feeding, which is also good for her, because if that impala is feeding, it means that it's relaxed, which means that it doesn't know that there is a cheetah about 120 meters or so away from it. But now, the dilemma is that have a look at how much open ground there is between her and those impala. And she's going to have to cover all of that open ground to get to those impala. Now, even though in a straight line she's much faster than the impala, they are not going to run in a straight line, and as soon as they see her coming, are going to run away. So she'll need to get as close as she can to them before she decides to run. And what she's doing, see how she's sitting still now, not moving, just waiting. She's seen that the impala are looking up, again, not at her, but in this general direction. And so she's going to wait for them to either turn around or put their heads down and start to feed. And then she'll, quick as lightning, she'll then be up on her feet again and slinking towards them. But until they do look away, she can't afford to move right now. Even the cubs, amazing to see how these cubs have put themselves into shade. Now with those coats of theirs, even though they are pretty well matched to the grass, if they sit in the sun, they're going to be much easier to see than if they stand in the shade. Adele, you're asking what is the fastest that a cheetah can run. Adele, they've been recorded running in excess of 100 kilometers per hour. But like I said, that's only in a straight line and under ideal circumstances. Of course, in this environment, there's rocks and logs and sticks and gradients to take into account. And of course, she's only going to run at that speed when she's actually chasing her prey. And her prey is, of course, never going to run in a straight line. It's, like I said, it's always going to try and zigzag and duck and dive to try and get away from her. And so she's not going to be able to reach that amazing top speed. So normally it's a bit less, maybe about 70, 80 kilometers per hour. But we're going to sit here and wait it out and see what transpires.
So as we got into the riverbed, so we did a big loop around one of the roads. Sorry, I was just looking at, there was another giraffe coming in from the right. So we were looping around onto the one road, and as we came into the riverbed, there's quite a few giraffes that we found in here. Now you'll notice, like, look at this one right over here. So that tree that it's feeding off is known as a buffalo thorn. So it's a very it's a tree with a lot of horrible thorns in it, and most of the thorns actually point backwards. So look at how that giraffe is carefully maneuvering around those branches in order not to get, not to prick out its eyes or maybe get caught up in that tree. It's just amazing how they're able to do that. And we see just how it wraps its lips around the branch and then picks the leaves slowly. Now, what's interesting, though, is with this whole group, it looks like it's just a bunch of males that are together. Now, to the right of where that one was earlier, you'll see there's another one moving into a little patch of sunlight there. It'll be interesting to see if when that one goes up the hill, if it's going to run up or maybe just carry on along the bank. There we go, just heading towards the bank. Just want to quickly see if I can get something here. Karaki, I would say in comparison to a cheetah, and I mean cheetah are the fastest, as you would have heard from Damon, but I would say with a giraffe, probably half the speed of that of a cheetah. So around about 56 kilometers an hour is what a giraffe will be capable of running. But so what I wanted to point out here, there's something very, very interesting. So I'm going to ask that Owen slowly angles back here so I can just show all the viewers something that I find quite interesting about giraffes. So right over here, I have what is known as a little ash bag. So basically, it's a bit of wood ash, tie it up into a sock, and whenever you walk in the bush, you can use it in order to test the wind. So if I would flick this, hopefully you'll see dust coming out of it, but because it's so light, it will show you the direction of the wind. So here we go, 1, 2, see if I do that. So there's some ash coming up, but I don't know if you can notice, but the ash is actually coming from the giraffe, like towards us now. Now, often with giraffes, so with giraffe, they tend to move into the wind, and hopefully, once you come back after this, I'll love to explain that. But for now, apparently James has a hippo on the move.
There's a fantastic sighting here of a hippopotamus that is in a clearing in the middle of the afternoon. It's not running away from us, which is spectacular. A couple of Impala chasing each other. But otherwise, it's all rather sweet. Wouldn't ya say? I don't know if it's going to go back to the water or if it was just hungry of a Sunday afternoon. But very odd to find one out at this time of the day. You still got it there, BK? No, State, it's not Dewey. We're sitting at Cheetah, so it is not the hippopotamus Dewey that lives close by to the Djuma Dam. This is a Cheetah hippo. Cheetah hippo. Lovely relaxed Sunday afternoon vibe going on here. What else have we got? Straight in front of us here we've got some... Oh, no, I don't think so, Sir 50. The Impala would be able to run away from the hippopotamus if he took a dislike to them. It would be very easy. Let's have a look at the guinea fowl on the ground there. They're looking as fat as ticks and happy with life on a Sunday afternoon. It's just so nice. And what else was there? There was a wildebeest somewhere around. I think it may have pressed on or moved off. Maybe it's closer to the water. Glenn, yes, posh chickens. Don't taste as good as chickens, I'll tell you that for free. Some people will try and tell you otherwise, but I assure you, it is true. I think a guinea fowl, anyone who tells you a guinea fowl is something that is worth eating is, well, I don't think thinking straight. Right, Right, the lions have got up and they're moving around and the babies are moving, so let's go over there.
Well, thanks for that, James. I'm glad I didn't pay for that little piece of advice, but I'm glad Ganufalo do taste good. Apparently, Mummy's milk tastes good too. It looks like the oldest boys here, but it's very tricky to tell when they're lying down. Lying on top of a lioness whose face I cannot see. Drinking. The milk bar is open. Now, for lions, the weaning process can start as early as 6 months, but on average it's normally 9 months that it starts. And it's a process. It's a gradual process for the cubs to be weaned off milk, and they can suckle from mum as late as 16 months or possibly even later. It depends on mum, and it also depends on pride dynamics, because lionesses allo suckle. So if there's younger cubs, then they'll stay in milk for much longer. It's quite a long time, but of course they're introduced to meats long before that. I think this one's fallen asleep. Oh, I don't even know what limb belongs to what lion here. This is a heap. Now, I think I saw the youngest cub and the youngest lioness, and the mange is also bad. Or the hair loss is bad, should I say. The hair loss is quite severe. But definitely better than when I saw them a few months ago. The cub at the back has been smothered here. Lionesses just love to touch one another. They love to remain in contact with one another. Very tactile. Gina, I agree. This is a cuddle puddle. I just want to run off the vehicle and jump right in the middle between them. I will obviously not do that. But imagine that. Spooning session. They look so cuddly. They're very, very tactile animals. And as I mentioned earlier, lionesses will go off on their own, but sometimes you can come across a lioness who appears slightly stressed, constantly calling, roaming, looking for her pride. They prefer to be around one another for safety, for comfort. I think that lionesses generally just tolerate the males, and I'm talking about the adult males, the avokas. In this instance, you don't see so much tenderness or tactile behavior when the males are there. The lionesses prefer to just be with the lionesses. So we may I shall try that sentence again. We may reposition slightly to get a better view, but we're not going anywhere. And hopefully, these lions are really going to wake up soon.
She's up again, everybody. Now, the Impala that she was stalking, the Impala herd she was stalking, they went behind the thicket. That's maybe about 70 meters or so in front of her. So not the close thicket, but the one just beyond that. The herd has gone behind there. And as soon as the last one disappeared, she took her cue. So obviously now with them moving away from her, there's a very low likelihood of them seeing her. And she's making use of this opportunity to cover that open space to get towards that thicket. And she's going to want to get as close as she can. Look at how slowly she's moving. One careful footstep at a time. Look at how her ears are pricked forward. She's listening for any sound that might give away exactly where in that thicket those impala are. I'm scanning that thicket with my binoculars right now, everyone. I can't see the impalas. There's a chance they may have already come out the other side. And her youngsters are still sitting tight in the scanty shade of a small buffalo thorn tree. And they're just waiting. Look at how long the shadows are getting, everybody. Look at how the light has taken on that golden color of twilight. So she'll want to, if she is successful, firstly I think that this may be her last attempt for the day. I don't know how many times she has attempted hunts today, but this will certainly be the last with the sun going down. Chrissy, you're saying what a scene? What a scene indeed. Look at the beautiful mountains in the background. Just absolutely breathtaking. Hardly a cloud in the sky. The gentlest of breezes blowing over us. Amazing how she has just started. It's getting so hard to keep track of her now. She just goes behind a bush, and that amazing spotted coat of hers just helps her to blend in so well with the dead sticks and the long yellow grass. Okay, so while we take in this scene, let's quickly go and have a look at what James has got for you. Apparently it's absolutely beautiful.
Similar to a cheetah. I don't think so. Well, what we have here is a fish eagle, which at last I checked was in a totally different class of animal altogether. Oh, similar quintessential African scene, indeed. We have got a fish eagle having a drink on the ground, a hippo behind it, and what's interesting is that the fish eagle's got something to eat there. That big pile of muck just behind it, I think, is a barbel or catfish. The fish eagle has either scavenged or managed to catch itself. It just looks very big. Oh, and I didn't even notice its friend over there, BK. Apparently Lauren had the same fish eagle, or certainly the one that is off to the left of us, on the same fish carcass yesterday. I wonder how close she managed to get. We didn't stop quite far away, just because I don't want him to take off. The hippo behind has managed to really find itself scratched to pieces. Must have been in a nasty fight recently. I can only imagine how delicious that fish must be, having been rotting quietly in the sun for 2 days or so. I think we'll try and roll slightly forward. That hippo's giving us a bit of a display. No. My noy, I'm sure it smells absolutely appalling. Thankfully the wind is... Thank you, everybody. Luckily the wind is not blowing towards us off the fish. hippo clearly think it smells disgusting. Oh, there he goes. That was nice. Good one, BK. We'll sit here for a little bit longer, and then we'll probably head back to Djuma and see if we can find Thandi.
So these giraffes haven't moved too far from where we saw them earlier. You can see this one is just repositioned, and the sun is so nice. It's actually quite a beautiful light at the moment. You can see it's not harsh. It's like these golden colors. But what I wanted to mention earlier is I know some of the viewers the other day, we spoke about it in regards to how with giraffe, whenever they feed, they tend to feed into the wind. And of course, it plays a role that if there's any predator in front of them, they might be able to smell it. But also the other thing is, apparently trees have a way of communicating. So whenever they feed off the trees like this, it almost like breaks the leaves, and that releases a pheromone that warns all the other trees downwind. So they naturally produce more of a chemical known as tannin. So tannins is basically what the tree uses in order to protect itself. So a giraffe will feed off of it. It produces tannins. It tastes more and more unpleasant, and because of that, the giraffe moves on, and that's the way the tree could protect itself, either through thorns, either through a chemical method, which is in this case would be tannins, or biological, could be ants, maybe secrete like a very sticky substance which would attract ants, and then as soon as an animal feeds too much, the ants will then move and then bother that animal. But it's so interesting that every tree then downwind of that will produce higher contents or higher levels of tannins, and that's why giraffes tend to feed into the wind whenever they do feed. So you can just see this giraffe now moving. And also look at the very tip of his horns. You'll notice there was like these little bald patches. So definitely a male. You can often imagine with the males, if they do fight with each other and they hit each other with their necks, how it creates those bald patches. Now I want to send you just off to the right here. So there's some more giraffes just slightly right of where we are. I might have to reposition a little bit. So let's just see if we can get them in. Or else I might just maneuver the vehicle a little bit. You notice there's quite a few of them, and as we mentioned earlier, I think when we had a look, all of them look like males, so it's probably just a small little bachelor herd that are together because of that safety in numbers. Remember, we always say that if there's quite a few males together, it's that whole thing about there's more eyes, more ears, and the safer they feel. Normally, the older they get and more dominant, the more likely they're going to be joining up with these loosely associated herds and look out for possible females to mate with. But for now, I think their main goal is just to look after one another, and basically just because of that safety in numbers. See how that giraffe is carefully maneuvering its tongue to pick some of those, what's known as a tumbuti tree. So the tumbuti leaves off. Now the tree, for us, it's a toxic tree. But for a giraffe, like by feeding off of that, it actually helps. A lot of people reckon that by doing that, it actually helps to kill some of the internal parasites. But I think for now, we're going to maybe leave these giraffes because they are moving away from us here. But we're going to send you back to Damon and hear what's happening on that side.
So this female cheetah has covered quite a bit of ground since you last saw us. She's right at the thicket where those impala last disappeared, but she's almost seems to have lost a bit of interest in the hunt. I don't know if those impala have come out the other side of that thicket and carried on. But while we have been sitting here, we suddenly saw her look off to the right. And we noticed a little side-striped jackal in the foreground here. I don't know if you can see him slinking through that long golden grass. And looking very intently at the female cheetah. And that's exactly, look at where he's sniffing right now. That's exactly where that cheetah walked earlier. I don't know if he's just smelling the area that she's been in. That beautiful coat. Lovely fluffy grey, and then with that white stripe down the side. So that white stripe coupled with his pretty light coloured back and the little white tail tip help us to identify him as a side striped jackal. Look at, there he goes, trotting off. Not too alarmed by the presence of this cheetah. I'm sure if it were perhaps a leopard or a lion, something much more threatening to him, he might start to alarm call at the cheetah. Or, oh look, he's scent marking, lifting his leg. Well, I guess we know now. No, sorry, not lifting his leg, defecating. Oh, she's calling her cubs, everybody listen. Can you hear that? That very high-pitched chirp. Hey, here come the cubs. The cubs are coming. The cubs are coming. They're running down the road. And the jackal's now running away. I wonder if the cubs are going to try and chase it. Look, they're running after it. Let's see what happens. Nah, not that interested. Man, that was too precious. Did you? Oh, we heard her calling, and then we saw them come running down. Wow, that was special. So I think that might be it, everybody. I think that might be this hunt attempt over. Mum's maybe decided that, no, there's a little bit of light. She might still try and hunt again. We're certainly going to stick with her. And we'll see what happens. Maybe the cubs go and join up with Mum. Maybe they all curl up there together and find a nice little spot to rest for the night. We're going to stick here for a bit longer. Let's go see what the lions are up to at Djuma with Lauren.
And the lions are not up to much, but we've had 4 vultures go overhead one by one. I am wondering, we're trying to figure out where they're landing, but it's really, really not easy. I think something's made a kill. If we see any more and we can attempt to get a location, we may go and investigate. Our cuddle puddle keeps getting bigger. Everybody wants to be right in the middle of that pile of lions. Ooh, gonna make me yawn soon, cubby. Lulu, I didn't get your question there, but Emma will repeat it, Lulu, and I shall answer it for you. A fuller moon, Normally it favors the predators, or actually that's the wrong terminology. It doesn't favor any organism. It depends how they use it to their advantage. So predators, including your leopards, your lions, even hyenas, wild dogs and cheetahs, your top apex predators, all do use the ambient light from the full moon to hunt. It definitely works in their favour, but it does also work in the favour of the prey. And what you will find is when the moon is full or fuller at least, and it's really bright outside like it was last night, you will find that the prey behaves slightly differently. Most antelope species, for example, do have good night vision. It's not as good as the predators, but they can see at night, and therefore they will be able to see more. Oh, what is he looking at? I actually have no idea. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's Morgan. But yes, the prey will be able to see better. So they will also have an added advantage, if that makes sense. So all the species, both predators and prey, can use it to their advantage, but normally it works in favour of the predators. Because wild dogs, for example, and cheetahs, they don't normally hunt at night. They can hunt at night, but it's not the sort of normal behaviour. They're primarily diurnal. So for wild dogs to start hunting at night during full moon would take an Impala by surprise. Big surprise. Not exactly a good surprise for Impala. It would be so wonderful to see the Nkuhumas feed on a buffalo here in Djuma. For some reason, they always tend to make their kills just outside of Djuma. I'm going to keep my eye out for any other vultures, and we may move if we start to see more flying above our heads, but it appears that James is still enjoying his fish eagle at Chitwa.
Yes, our birds have not moved at all. They are sitting in their tree. I think that is where they are going to remain for the rest of the day. The sun is about to dip below the western horizon, northwestern horizon really, this time of the year. And I think it's been a thoroughly pleasant time for the fish eagles, eating rotting catfish and watching the sun go down. It's a little bit like for you and me having a chocolate cake or a fruit cake and tea on Sunday afternoon and watching the sun go down. Maybe even a stiff gin and tonic. Really, just the infusion of peace that comes over the human being when one sits silently in a place like this for a good long time is just profound. Well, Fish Eagle, thank you very much. You say what a stunning sight. I didn't see either of you two tweeting, but I'm most impressed that you're able to tweet from where you're sitting there. Now, there seems to be some territorial activity going on at Phinda, so let's go down there.
Watch. Look at this. You've joined us just in time. So, Mum did have another half-hearted attempt at that herd of Impala, but they were unsuccessful, unfortunately. So the youngsters and Mum have been running around playing, and now they're going into a thicket behind us, so we're just going to turn around quickly. They've just gone through here, so we'll make our way around. They're going to come. It's been with these cheetah from watching that mother trying to hunt the impala to seeing the cubs chasing the jackal. It's going to stop us right there. Sorry everybody, apparently we did have a little bit of a signal break up there. Apologies for that. Look at that. Mum and her two youngsters in tow heading back up the slope. So I was saying earlier that with the amount of light that we had left, that it was likely that this mother cheetah was going to start looking for a spot to rest for the evening. And I think that that last little half-hearted attempt at those impala was probably her last attempt at hunting for the day. Just because she now needs to focus on keeping her little ones safe with the coming of nightfall. Of course, this time of day in the dark, when bigger predators like leopards and lions are active, this is the most dangerous time of the day for her and her little ones. And so a nice open clearing, just like last night, somewhere where they can see all around them and detect danger early, will be just what they need. Look, as if to agree. Did you see how they both just yawned, the two cheetah on the left? And with it being so open, and like I said earlier, Mrs. Lapwing, you're asking if the cheetah would eat the jackal if they did catch it. Mrs. Lapwing, it is unlikely in the state of these two cheetah, but I have seen or heard of a record where there were two young cheetah a similar age to these cheetah that were orphaned, and in desperation to get some sort of food, they did try and tackle a bat-eared fox, also a small canine, to try, and they were desperate. They needed some kind of food, and so they tackled the bat-eared fox and they tried to kill it, but it was too strong and it managed to escape. So Mrs. Lapwing, not normally, no. And I think, to be honest, that if they did get close to that jackal, the jackal would have put up a heck of a fight and probably would have sent these two little cheetah packing with their tails between their legs. Maybe if they were desperate, like in the scenario that I described earlier, if they were orphaned and starving and they found a jackal pup or an emaciated, sick, injured or dying jackal, they might try to eat it in desperation, but it's not the usual. So I think we're gonna try for one more view of these cheetah, everybody. We'll just head a little bit upslope and try and get one last view for you all before we leave them for the night.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Starting to wake up. We're all starting to groom. So if we just have a look at this cuddle puddle over here, lots of heads are up now. The sun is really sinking fast and there's a little nip in the air. I can feel it. And what that normally means is the cats will wake up. Now, before this new generation of cubs that arrived last year, May last year, the first set of cubs arrived then at least, the Nkuhumas were quite resistant to mange. They'd had it before, and they were really no longer susceptible to it. They were quite strong, the Nkuhuma pride, and some of the adults at least, had a few itchy patches here and there, but really they were very much exposed to it from the Mangani males. It was two males that tagged along with the pride, and they were really savaged with mange. But the Nkuhumas were very much resistant to it. They were strong, and it seems to have been, well, the new cubs since last year, only recently, have become susceptible to it, and it seems to have hit them quite heavily. But hopefully, by the time summer rolls around again, which will come sooner than we think, and the rains come, they really, really will sort of flush it out, and it'll help them, it'll help their skin immensely. The Styx Pride, on the other hand, who used to be the dominant lion pride around here, they've moved off. They're slightly nomadic at the minute. They seem to always have mange. It really, really hit that pride heavily. And the lionesses do not look like our Nkuhuma lionesses. They really do look like they've been hit heavily by mange. So it really depends on the pride dynamics. And it's a sort of natural controlling disease of lion populations. And that's why you must never interfere when it does come to mange. Because disease in any ecosystem is there for a reason, and it's there to control populations. Nature must have its own way of controlling populations. If we were to sort of intervene and cure every single lion out here of mange and make sure they were healthy and strong, it would completely destroy the balance of the ecosystem. Nature is all about balance, and as sad as it is, mange exists to control populations, as many other diseases. Two lionesses grooming simultaneously. John, you're saying it's so good to see them happy. Yes, and healthy. They are. These cubs will be absolutely fine. And yes, they're happy. I think they would be happier if they had a buffalo, though. What do you think, John? But the Nkuhuma's territory is very large, and they do cover a lot of ground, and that's why they're not always found on Djuma. It extends to the west, it extends away down south, and recently they've sort of been found in Buffelshoek, on the southern end of Buffelshoek. The neighbouring prides would be the Talamatis to the north and the Torchwood Pride to the east. So they have got neighbouring prides that they would have to contend to. Okay, I'm going to sit here and enjoy this grooming session, but you guys are going to head over to Taylor to see what she has for you.
Right, so this is quite exciting, actually. Some of you may remember yesterday afternoon and also this morning we had a beautiful big bull moving around with a herd. And yesterday afternoon on Sunset Safari, I thought it was Kumo, but I was really confused because this elephant didn't have a collar. Now, Kumo is one of the elephants that is tracked and is being studied by Elephants Alive. So we got a call from the team at Elephants Alive asking us if we wouldn't mind going to check, because the collar was not moving, which is obviously quite scary. So look who has broken his collar. Kumo has ripped it off. I think what's happened is it's just sort of worn a little bit over here. But you can see the material that they've used. I don't even know what type it is, but it has worn a fair amount. There's quite a few little places where it has broken. And as you can imagine, elephants are quite tough and hardy when they go walking through the vegetation. They kind of, I don't know, I suppose, hook on all sorts of trees. They're quite rough with one another, pushing each other around then when they swim. So that's quite cool though. So I'm glad Kumo was okay. So I'm like 100% certain that big elephant was Kumo. Are those elephants? There's elephants making weird noises in the distance. So this is where the transmitter is and the battery is inside this little casing here. And then it doesn't last for very long, between 2 and 5 years or so before the battery will die and it will stop giving off a signal. And then what you've seen in the, let me drop that, it's heavy. And then what you've seen is this bit that hangs down. This is just a slight weight to make sure that it stays the way that it should, otherwise it'll move around quite a bit. But quite interesting. It's heavy. It's not too heavy, not for an elephant. It wouldn't be anything. I mean, I'm going to try and get it back to the car. Well, this is quite cool though. I don't actually know where I'm going to put it. Should we just drive around with it up here? Yeah. I kind of don't want to bring it inside the car because it's very filthy. So it can live here from now on. Cool, now I'm filthy. And we shall return that. How cool though. So we did hear the elephants. Just down over there. So we'll go have a look. Susie, now you've said that Kumo is a trickster. Perhaps. It was on a sickle bush. So it had been broken. So I don't know. I don't know how it would have broken. But like I said, I think it's obviously wear and tear, and then it could have just got snagged and then completely ripped off. Very cool to see though. Like, I'm glad that he's okay, of course. Oh, that was nice. I'm exhausted now after carrying that thing. So we had to carry it we had to go walking to go and fetch it. Nancy, I can't say that it smells like elephant. It's covered in mud. So it smells muddy. But, no, it doesn't really smell like elephant at all. But, elephants, I suppose, don't exude much from their skin, other than from their temporal glands. And then, obviously, from the other openings of their body. But other than that, don't have like a sebaceous oil like a hippo has that secretes their whole body, or an oil gland like birds do. So, no, it didn't smell like anything. No, my hands just smell like mud. They're filthy, though. It's quite very, very dirty. Right. Are there going to be elephants at Leopard Dam? Because we're just coming around the bend now. Please be some ellies. No, the water looks too still. Right, we're going to head in that direction to the elephants that were making noises before the sun sets. Off we go to the Cheetah with Damon.
Have a look at Mom staring off into the sunset. And the two youngsters busy grooming themselves after a long day of walking. They've covered quite some distance, everyone, since we first found them early this morning. And Mom has been hunting tirelessly the whole day, but just hasn't had much luck. But tomorrow's a new day, and she will no doubt try again. And with these clearings, with the thickets in between them, there's plenty of potential prey here for her, like impalas, and in the slightly denser bush in Ngala, that she might be able to hunt tomorrow. With it's full moon tonight, so with the moon being so bright, she and her youngsters might move a little bit in the dark, but probably not too far from here. And what an amazing 48 hours it has been with this female cheetah. Remember yesterday afternoon how we watched her chase that herd of impala, and now today she again had us in suspense as she tried her luck again with another herd of impala. Incredible to see those little cubs come running to her call and watching them chase that jackal. And now they are going to be looking for the perfect spot to rest for the evening. Like I said earlier, look at how clear the sky is. Very little cloud, or very few clouds. So once the sun does go down, it's going to cool down very quickly. The temperature's going to drop rapidly. And so these cheetah might huddle together for warmth. Mom and her two youngsters all snuggled up together to keep warm. And I'm pretty sure that tomorrow morning they won't be too far from here. Sophie, you're asking if cheetah cuddle like lions do? Sophie, they absolutely do, especially a mother with little cubs like this. And normally, look at this. Little female cub trying to play with her mum. Look at she's batting her paw with her paw. Sorry, Sophie, yes, they absolutely do cuddle, especially if they're cold or wet. There's quite a few photographs that have been doing the rounds of small cheetah cubs huddled up to their mothers, sitting on a termite mound in the long grass in the rain. So yes, they do. what a privilege it's been to spend the amount of time that we have with this mother and her youngsters. And I think pretty soon, like I said, the sun has gone down. This is the time of day when they're most vulnerable. So we want to give her and her youngsters the space that they need to make sure that they can stay safe through the night. Look at how alert Mom is, scanning all around her, listening to the sound. There's Impala snorting behind us. It sounds like some rams chasing each other. We just now heard a big bellow coming from the east. It sounded like perhaps a territorial battle going on between some white rhinos. Some hippos grunting in the distance to our north. Just so many sounds all around us that this mother cheetah has to listen to. Cindy, you're saying this is such cute family time. It is, it's precious. Incredible to see the bond between this mother and her little ones. And Mom, obviously not quite happy with the spot that they've got to rest for the night. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she goes just a little bit further up this hill, out of this dip. The higher up the slope she goes, the warmer it'll be, if only marginally. Just moving through the long grass. There's another little open green patch just on the other side there. Once again, amazing to see how they just disappear in that long grass. Just imagine if they were stalking some impala, if they were moving really slowly, they would hardly be able to be seen. Sorry. Okay, everyone. These cheetah have been absolutely incredible this afternoon. I'm sure you'll all agree. We're going to give them the space that they need for the night, and we're going to go and see what else we can find for you this evening.
Everybody's grooming now, and I'm actually trying to identify the lionesses. I can see Amber, good old Amber. Pale-eyed lioness is definitely here. I'm trying to figure out if neck-eared lioness is around. Chella's here. I've got the youngest lioness here. So far, that's what I've managed to make out. I might get my binoculars. I think you can probably hear me doing that. I'm not being very quiet about it because there's a lioness away at the back there. I think we do have originals with us as well. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lionesses in my line of sight. No, 8. I think everybody's... Shenzi, I'm going to be really honest with you. I find lions particularly difficult. We had a girl here called Nikki who was in FC, and she was incredible with lions. She could just look at a lioness from the Masai Mara or South Africa and she would know immediately which individual it was, never mind the pride. I find lions particularly difficult. I find hyenas and leopards a lot more easy to identify. But when you're looking at a lioness, try and pick out key features. So for example, amber eyes and purple eye, they are very obvious. Purple eye obviously has a purple eye, just in case anyone was in doubt. But if there's no sort of real obvious feature, you look at the ears, the eyes, and the sort of nasal area, the mouth. Most lionesses will have nicks in their ears or maybe a scar. Sorry, I'm just laughing at this little cub's face. I'm not sure if we can get it from the angle we're at. It's just pure satisfaction. So yes, most of them will have something you can identify, but I really, really do find it difficult, I must say. And the main lionesses of the Nkuhumas are the, well, purple eye, amber eyes, ridge nose, who has a really, really wide face and a sort of ridges on her nose, which is exactly what gave her the name. Chela, we actually named Chela. Nick-eared lioness, don't need to explain that one. Pale-eyed lioness, tattered-eared lioness, and a youngest lioness. They're the main lionesses of the Nkuhuma Pride. We unfortunately lost Nana. Nana was the oldest lioness, but she passed away last year. So they're the main ones that you try to identify, but lions are tricky. You really need to have a good look. When they're lying flat like that, it's almost impossible for me. Whereas when a leopard's flat, I can normally identify who it is by their spot pattern. But of course, lions don't have that. Is this little puppy sleeping? Excuse the car. Not positioned in the best angle. Yes, we've fallen asleep. Like a baby falling asleep, eating its dinner. Oh. Not quite fully asleep. This is making me feel sleepy watching these little ones. So as I sit here and enjoy every moment with our precious Nkuhumas, it seems that Taylor has came across an elephant bottom.
We found the elephants that were making a ruckus, but unfortunately not Kumo. This is another elephant bull. I don't know if we've seen this one-tusk fella before. He's quite large in size. He's got very tatty ears. Well, his left ear is quite tatty, and he only has a right tusk. Maybe he broke it. Maybe he never grew one. I'm not really sure, but he's quite happily feeding on all the lovely grass. Actually, I don't know how lovely the grass is. I should have said all the terrible dry grass, but anyways, you know, it's actually quite sad. You can see the color contrast there from what he's eating to the beautiful green trees in the back. But those are tumbua tea trees, and they're not always fond of feeding on the tumbua tea leaves. But there's a whole bunch of boys here. I'm hoping, actually, maybe there's a cow. I'm going to use my binoculars for 2 seconds because there's some other elephants up ahead, and I'm wondering if it is the breeding herd. No, they also look like boys. I can't quite figure out where Susan's herd has gone. They've disappeared somewhere. There's tracks all over going north, south, east, and west, and you know, you'd think it'd be easy to find a herd of elephants. But anyways, these will do. The story, the saga of Kumo and his lost collar, or his broken collar, will continue, I think, until tomorrow morning. And hopefully we'll find him. I have my suspicions, but I don't know if I should tell you. What do you think, Kat? Now, Sassy Kathy, I don't know if he's going to get another collar. They've been doing so many studies on him already. I'm sure they'll, at some point, they would do something like that. But collars are very expensive. So they'd need to repair this one, I'm assuming, and see if they can fit him again. So maybe, maybe not, but I'll keep you posted. I think it would be a waste to just stop monitoring him now, seeing as though they've already got so much information on him. I think I'm going to wait and tell you my story tomorrow about what I think happened. It's a far-fetched story, be warned. Is it a little elephant? No, there are. Hang on, I'm going to go forward because I think the breeding herd is just coming up ahead. So we'll catch them in the last of the light. But you're going to go somewhere else now while I get to that point.
Welcome back, everyone. We have scarcely left our family of cheetah, and we've managed to find 2 white rhinos. A mother and her youngster busy heading off into the sunset, and they're being trailed by an enormous male, and he's about to cross the road in front of us. And remember earlier I said I could hear some bellowing, and I thought that it sounded like rhinos fighting. Now, having now found these rhinos, I think that's what probably is going on here. And it seems like we keep finding rhinos where there's males trying to mate with females, but the females are not interested. Because that's exactly, again, what I think is going on here. This bull's probably been trying to court this cow, and she's been rebuffing his efforts. And that's typical behavior for a white rhino that's not quite ready to mate yet. If the bull... Oh, listen. Listen. Listen to the sounds they're making. This is exactly what's happening. He's following her, and she's not happy. She's making those hissing sounds, and she might even bellow at him if he comes any closer. I know he's just a little bit concealed behind the bush there for now. Here he comes. Oh, he's found something interesting on the ground there to smell, it seems. Look at how he's got his nose close to the ground. He's walking virtually in the footsteps of where that cow was. Oh, we're just going to lose visual for a second there as we go behind the light. Listen. Can you hear those huffing sounds? That is both the male and the female. They're both making those sounds. That's him saying to her, I don't mean you any harm. I'm just coming to investigate you. And that's her saying back to him, I don't want you to come and investigate me. Poor guy. It certainly seems that a lot of the rhinos in the area, that's about the third different bull that we have found over the last few weeks that's been trying to court a cow. And the third bull that we've found having his efforts being unappreciated by the rhino cow, I suppose you could say. So she and her youngster have just stopped behind us and they're busy feeding. I don't want us to move because if we do, we might disturb them. So we'll just enjoy this view of this magnificent rhino bull. For those of you that were watching this morning, we spoke a little bit about the difference between a black and a white rhino. And with this rhino so close to us, we can really have a good look at the differences. So look at how this big white rhino walks with his head close to the ground because he feeds on grass. That's where his kind of neutral head and neck position will be. But if he does lift his head, keep a lookout for the big bunch of muscle that kind of bunches up on the top of his neck, just in front of his shoulder. Now in the black rhino, because it feeds on leaves and twigs, like I said this morning, when it holds its head out in front, there's no big bump on the back of the neck. And also have a look at his saddle on his back. See how shallow it is? Luke, you're asking if rhinos have an equivalent to must in elephants. And no, Luke, this rhino bull will breed at any time of the year. Any time that he can find a female that's ready to mate, he will breed. Well, of course, after a lengthy courting process. And if he's able to find a female that is accepting to his advances, I'm going to keep quiet. Listen to him feeding. Can you hear that munching sound of him cropping up the short grass, using those big lips of his? Oh, He's almost too close, everybody. Well, too close in terms of us getting him on camera. Like I said, I can't quite move. I don't want to disturb them. Okay, while our rhinos keep coming closer to us and we wait for a chance to turn around, let's go and see what Taylor has got for you over at Pride Lands.
That we are. My day is filled with elephants and I could not be more happy. The little one has gone down onto its knees. It's been trying to do all sorts of things, including charge the car this afternoon. But now it's just trying to eat. Yes, well done. You've successfully managed to pull out one blade of grass. How very exciting. Before it was feeding on it looks like a spike thorn behind it, that green tree, but with no success, unfortunately. Couldn't even pick one leaf. And it's trying to pull out some of this grass. You can see it's struggling, though. There we go. Oh, you're doing such a good job, little elephant. No? In your mouth, not on your head. Look at Mom ushering it away, saying, no, no, leave the people alone. Good, Mom. And then it might come back again because we've got our favorite elephant that's going to come and say hello to us, I have no doubt, at some point, because she's standing on the road in front of us. Hi, little elephant and cow. See you next time. There she is. She's being bullied. Ha! Good. Please give her a taste of her own medicine because she deserves it. So that's Susan on the right-hand side is a young bull. There's another elephant that looks like trouble. Can you just see that? See the way that it's just kind of walking up, sort of sticking its trunk out. I'm feeding. I'm not really feeding. I'm going to walk on this side of the road now. You'll never suspect that I'm maybe going to come up towards a car. Now I'm smelling you. All displacement behavior. Very typical of elephant bulls, but maybe he's not going to come and give us any trouble. But they think they're so sneaky, so sneaky. But luckily for us, we're in the presence of very relaxed elephants that we see literally every single game drive. I wonder if they realize how well known they're becoming. I think we're going to have to give this particular herd a name, just because we see them so often. I don't know, do we call them after their matriarchs? I don't know how you name an elephant herd. I suppose you can call it whatever you want, it's not going to respond. But it would be nice just to keep tabs, because definitely 3 different herds of elephants that we see on a regular basis. All feeding on the grass. I wonder what grass they're eating. I was just having a look. Looks like a lot of tassel 3 awn grass that they're feeding on. Perhaps it's tasty at this time of the year. Oh, there's lots of different stuff. There's also some buffalo grass and all sorts of things. I like the 2 color differences that we've got here of the elephants. I seem to be having some telepathy with the directors today, as we are thinking about the same thing at the same time. So obviously one elephant, that cow with the young calf, and her calf has had a dust bath at some point. I wonder if they did go down to the dam, to Ndlovu Dam. We know that there's lots of red dust there. Oh, should you just squeeze underneath your mother? Okay. Cool, I don't know if she appreciates that, but you go ahead and have a suckle. No problem. Mom's just like, I'll just carry on eating. She's got another elephant. It's bottom towards her face. Goodness, it must be tough to be a mom. So they could have gone there. It's not very far away. I reckon we're only about, I don't know, 1.5 kilometers. Maybe 2 kilometers at a push back towards the eco-training camp if you went the way that the elephant would, which would be the most direct route. But we'll sit here with the elephants because I'd like to say hello to Susan and tell you my tales of what I think is happening between her and Kumo. But off you go to Ngala, where there's lots of water around.
So we carried on to go and see if we can possibly find any signs of lions And we got through this beautiful waterhole, and you can see the sun just slowly starting to set in the back. And there's quite a lot of these golden colors. But right in front of us here, there's quite a few hippos. So I'm going to ask if we can move a little bit closer to them. You'll notice they are getting a little bit more restless now, and it might be that time of the evening when they do start to eventually move out of the water. But what I'm hoping for is that these hippos would grunt for us. So often this time of the evening you might hear that. Just look at the one yawning. It's just such a beautiful scene. Now, earlier on there was a crocodile that was on the bank, and it, like as the hippos came closer, it immediately went into the water and moved off. Just trying to listen if those hippos were going to grunt. Here we go. How beautiful was that noise? Tammy, I definitely got my wish. Like, it is just, I think it's one of my favorites. Because remember the other day, it was during one of the kids' session, I was telling all the kids, like, according to my grandfather, why the hippos were grunting or laughing like that. So it's definitely something that since a very young childhood, it's something that I always love to hear. And I always, associated with the sounds of Africa. But imagine if we can stay here just a little bit longer and hopefully see them moving out. But what's quite interesting is just their movements. It's like you'll see they slowly moving together, and then the ones that are off here to the left, looks like they might be swimming in a little circle. And all I think they're doing now, as I said, they are getting a little bit more restless. So eventually from here they'll move out. Oh, there's one that's flicking water up into the air. And it's hard to see. I mean, the light is slowly fading on us. But I wonder if it's like a big bull, maybe a big cow. I think while we sit here and enjoy this beautiful sounds of Africa, we're going to send you across to Lauren, who's apparently already in infrared.
We do have lions, I promise. I think there's more just about to appear. They're walking single file. We had a good look at Purple Eye. Purple Eye's here. Every single one of them has sniffed this exact spot and did the flaming grimace. So they're smelling something, they're tasting something. I have absolutely no idea what it is. That every single individual has stopped in that spot and gave us a wonderful view of that flaming grimace. A lot of them are very heavily scarred, circular scars, which makes you think claws or horns. This one's got a limp. They're all coming now, single file along the 2-track. I wonder if they're going to head towards the buffalo. Wouldn't it be great if we had them round for consecutive days. I'll need to be careful to think when this trail of lions ends. Oh, you see that mark on the bottom there? You just got a brief view. That's a big patch of hair loss from mange. Okay, I think that was the last of them, which means that... Oh, no. I'm wrong. It's not the last of them. Okay, now I'm going to try and follow these lions, try and keep up with them. As I do that, it appears that Tsela is surrounded by elephants.
We are indeed, Susan. And this elephant has decided that she wants to obviously feed on the tree right behind the car. Now, the elephants have pushed over a scented thorn into the middle of the road. We can't actually use it anymore. Stop it now. Don't be rude. She's been eating here for like the last, well, since she saw her, she walked around the car. She smelled Kumo's collar, and now she's tucking on in a tree that they actually pushed it down a few weeks ago. But it's so big that I can't even move it. I don't think I'll even be able to tow it out of the way. So if you can just eat the whole tree, that would be great. They've all been feeding on it. Every elephant that's come past has been pulling off the sort of small branches and chewing down on it, but she has got no idea of personal space, this elephant. I mean, like with most elephants, they give you a little bit of room, and she cannot help herself. Anyways, I had to have a talking to her this morning because she got a little bit too cheeky and she was sulking with me. She was not happy at all, but now we're talking things through. Anyways, I wanted to tell you about what I think is happening. Okay, and I'm obviously joking. Please don't take me seriously. Susan. Don't. I just have to watch her. It's getting very dark. But I think that Kumo lost his collar on purpose because he's worried about what the public might say about his relationship with this elephant. No, I'm joking. Because of the age difference. No, I definitely don't think that that's what's going on. But it's just quite funny how it's all happened. It's obviously happened fairly recently as well, maybe in the last day or two. Susan, I would really like to go home now because it's getting dark. Hi, big girl. And we don't have infrared. Hello, girl. Don't you want to go and walk past that other elephant? Hello, good girl. She wants to feed there as well. They've been pulling branches away. Please don't also come and feed on the vehicle. Or you're going to just feed there. Okay, she's happily going to eat over there. She looks like she's been suckled on. Where's your calf? You know where it is? Maybe it's run along with some of the others. Not uncommon for a little elephant to be off playing with someone else. Oh, big tusk. Oh, look at that, how she's reprimanding that bull. Oh, goodness, she tusked him a good 2 times there. Please don't chase Susan towards me, because that'll be disastrous, right? I'm going to leave now and let these elephants feed in peace. We'll catch up with them in the morning. Lauren's got her infrared on. I wonder what she's looking at.
The lions are just somewhere in the block here. Now, I chose not to bash through after them, behind them, because there's little cubs. You don't want to follow behind cubs at night like that. It's not safe for the cubs or for us to really do that. It's not nice. So their trajectory is this way, and I'm hoping that I can just see them all coming through the thicket. If we don't, that's absolutely fine. We've had a wonderful sighting with them. But when there's cubs that young, I don't like to bash through in the dark. We obviously have infrared on, which is an amazing piece of technology, and you don't want to bash through with all your lights on. I don't think that's a great idea. So hopefully we'll either hear them or spot some eye shine. They're heading in a northeasterly direction. Scott, It really depends on the lion. They sort of say that lions sleep for about 20 hours a day. But I've seen lions sleep for a lot less than that. They are very active at night. They're primarily nocturnal, Scott. So what that means is they'll walk great distances at night time, really far. They'll hunt at night, they'll scent mark, they'll patrol, and this all eats into their energy budget. It's all about energy when you're an organism. And yes, it requires a lot of energy to do all of those things. And therefore, when it comes to daytime, they're shattered, they're tired, and they need to sleep. And that's exactly why we see them snoozing. They need to recuperate, they need to rest, they need to digest and ensure that they don't go into energy deficit and that they stay in the surplus. So we often tease lions for being very lazy, but actually, to be fair to them, they're very active at night time. And all of the things that they do at night time requires a lot of energy. The lioness is looking out for the cubs, constantly making sure everyone's together, constantly communicating, coordinating. It all takes a lot of energy. So they do say 20 hours a day, but I'm not entirely sure I agree with that. I think they're pretty much nocturnal. So when that sun sets, they start to become active, and that's them pretty much right through. Okay, I am going to stop up here and listen. It's always good to listen to the bush. And it appears that Phinda has found the moon.
Just listen carefully, everybody. Can you hear all of that? So all of that grunting and bellowing is those same rhinos, everybody. They're somewhere in the bushes out to our east. And that's that mother rhino telling that bull to get out of here. Isn't that sound just incredible? And then there was that squealing. May have been coming from the calf, maybe getting caught in between the mother and the bull, maybe even the bull getting shoved around by the female. Now it seems to have died down a bit. But look at this beautiful moon that we have rising over northern KwaZulu-Natal here in Maputo land. And somewhere beneath that moon is the Indian Ocean. And right now the tide is going to be dropping, and it's just reminding me of the months that are to come a little bit later in this year, in December time, where we will be able to go and look for nesting sea turtles. Turtle. That's just how close we are to the ocean. Only about a 40-minute drive or so from here. So, apparently Lauren was talking about which will benefit, predator or prey, tonight under the light of this full moon. And I wonder if that female cheetah that we saw earlier is maybe going to move a little bit tonight and maybe try and see if she can procure some food for herself under the light of the full moon. But in the meantime, apparently we've been challenged to a moon off by Nikki and see what the moon looks like there.
So I heard everyone saw a bit of the moon at andBeyond Phinda, but we thought maybe we can show you what the view would be like from here. So we're basically on a little bit of a ridge looking down at that waterhole, but just on our eastern side is where we see this beautiful red color of the moon. And hopefully that will bring us a lot of good luck as we carry on with our lion search this evening. Now we're hoping, so normally we always say like last minute leopard, but this afternoon or this evening we're going to try last minute lion. So after seeing that beautiful moon for now, I think what we're going to do is let's carry on with our drive and see if we can get these lions. So we are going to go into infrared now. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So let's keep a good lookout. We'll see if we can find any signs of these lions. So what I'm also was hoping for is being at this waterhole, I was hoping that there would have been a good chance of possibly hearing lions, maybe those male lions calling, but we haven't heard anything yet. So what we're going to do now is carry on, and hopefully we'll be able to spot one of them on our way back towards the camp. Moonbeam, I would say it's probably from the dust. So being this time of the year as well, if there's quite a lot of dust in the air, but it could also be like the reflection maybe on the dust on the moon. So I'm not too sure, but I think mainly the dust on the horizon could play a massive role in this. Maybe even a last-minute chameleon one. Oh, won't be bad. Or bush baby. I mean, these are some of the little animals that we could be looking out for. Oh, there's actually a scrub here right in the road. So I'm just going to switch off. See if we can move on this side. So right over here, and right in front of me. Here we go. So often in the late in the afternoon, early evening, the scrubbies will come out. But it seems to me this one has moved off. I think while he's moving off, let's do the same and carry on with our line search. So apparently Taylor's wants to join this moon competition. So let's send you across, and I would love to hear some feedback. Where the moon shone the brightest.
Leaves and twigs in front of it. I'm not sure if I'm having some issues with my audio, but I am speaking. Can you hear me? Apologies. I was saying that I'm very competitive and that I like to win. So sorry about that. That's what we were saying, but it is really pretty. The moon this evening. What we did want to do is go and sit and wait at some of the rocks. There's this one section where it's quite open. You can see the rocks really nicely, and then have the moon rise behind that, and then hopefully a leopard would just walk into frame. But we got distracted by elephants on the searching for the elephant collar mission. So I suppose these things happen. But look how quickly it's rising. That's insane. Look at that. Very, very cool. You can see my favorite thing. The craters have made the Easter Bunny. If you can't see it, then you need to use your imagination. Maybe someone can outline it and draw it. Thank you. The crowd goes wild. You're all saying that we're winning. Woohoo, go Pridelands. Do you know what we're going to do tomorrow? We're going to get because I think it was Nikki. Was it Nikki this morning that was trying to get the moon in the Drakensberg? We're definitely going to get the moon in the Drakensberg. I'm going to make it my personal mission to try and get that shot. So, I'm just trying to think. I'm going to have to do lots of planning tonight on where will be the perfect spot. Hopefully, we should have enough time. Oh no, we might not. Maybe it will set before the show starts. We will. Had your phone. Sorry. It's not ringing. The call is going to drop. I apologize, Emma. So what I'm going to do for you is shall I just sit quietly and then maybe you link away? Because I think if you try and call Kat again, this is going to go to our voicemail. But I think we win the moon competition, but maybe James and Lauren will prove us wrong.
Davi's been very creative with our moon competition, I must say. There is the moon, with a thorny branch in front of it. And of course, there's something they call the moon illusion. And this is when the moon appears to be much, much, much larger, closer to the horizon. And it's not much larger, of course. This is an optical illusion after all. And it depends on a variety of factors, but basically, the explanation of this illusion is still very much debated. So if you do Google it, you get lots of different scientific theories as to why this happens. Of course, it's to do with the angle and it's to do with light. But when you see the moon first appear on the horizon, it looks much larger than it does when it slowly starts to rise up in the sky. Ooh, Davi, Linda Poley says this is the best one.
Thanks, Linda.
Davi says, thanks, Linda. We were trying to be very creative. I think everyone had to show the moon. There's no way you can ignore the giant ball of cheese in the sky. Many of you are seeing your howling. Oh, the werewolves are coming out tonight. Very interesting. Can't wait to see you all as werewolves. Apparently everyone is getting involved now. I'm very much looking forward to a night of no sleep, as it is full moon, and Mr. Hendry wants to show you his.
I believe that this is the least original sighting of the evening, that everyone has done this. I currently can't actually see what we're filming, but what I'm looking at is particularly impressive, I think. A massive, massive moon, probably born of the dust in the atmosphere. And it was l'orange when it came up. It looked like a giant clementine coming up over the horizon. Most impressive. We've come towards the Djuma Dam because the dam cam picked up a leopard there. I'm afraid my luck ran out this morning and we've been unable to find her. We're still hoping in the last minute we might get a glimpse, but I'm not sure. Just beautiful, and in the background, a fiery neck nightjar. Which has now gone silent. Naturally. Thank you, Megan. Yes, a very gorgeous moon indeed. BK is having to translate for me because my earpiece has given up. You can see the rabbit very clearly. You see it, BK? You see the rabbit in the moon? No. Can you not see it? Look closely, you will see the rabbit on the moon. 40 seconds. Oh, she's closing with us. Fantastic. I think what I'll do, everybody, because I can't actually hear the director, is bid you all a fond farewell. So thank you very much for joining us, for your questions and comments. We'll see you tomorrow morning, of course. And I'll let you just listen to the sounds of the bush for the final 15 seconds. Bye-bye.